Before I get started cleaning the knives up, we're going to do a little hardness test. I grabbed my hardness files, and these go in increments of 5, starting with 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, and 65. It's the 60 and 65 that we're interested in right now. Okay, let's start out with the 60. Let's see if I can get this to focus. See, HRC 60. So if this file scratches a knife, we know the knife is softer than 60. It's still skating over. Now, let's try the 65. It is taking the color off, but it's not getting much bite. Let me go up here. So even the 65 isn't getting a lot of bite. It is getting some bite. So I'm going to say my original guess was probably pretty good. My original guess was between 62.5 and 63, and I'm going to say these are going to be closer to the 63 side of things. Those files aren't really scratching it. The 60 isn't even touching it. And the 65 just bites just a little tiny bit, not much. So the hardness is between those two, but it's going to be closer to the 65 than it is to the 60. Get my mask on. You don't want to do this kind of stuff without a mask. Usually I wear a full respirator, but I need some new cartridges, so this is going to have to do for now. This isn't one of the cheap dust masks. This is one that's got the valve. This is a better one. This gets a decent seal, so this actually does something. You don't want to breathe in all this metal. It's not just the metal dust. The main thing is the abrasives off the belt as they wear off. The abrasives and the glue. You do not want to breathe that stuff in. These masks get hot and nasty, but the actual full respirator with the two big cartridges, they're a lot more comfortable to wear. And I really like those. Okay, the first thing I'm doing here is just taking all that slag and discoloration off, and then I'm going to put in a new belt before I actually start grinding. There are some big advantages to putting in a new belt, especially after the steel is heat treated like this. When you put in a new belt, you don't have to put so much pressure and keep working back and forth to remove material. It cuts material a lot more easily, which means you don't heat your steel up, and that's going to be critical. I also have some water here to dunk the blade in, just to make sure that I don't get it too hot. And if you notice, I'm doing this with bare hands. If the knife is too hot to hold, you should have been cooling it. Okay, I'm going to change the belt and then I'll resume grinding. And we'll work on cleaning up this bevel. And to clean up the other side. The next step is going to be to make sure we have our grinds even, because there's a good chance it's a little bigger on one side than the other. So I'm going to take my scribes, a pair of scribes, and I'm going to set them here to mark the height of the bevel, and I'm going to run it down the blade. You can see this mark here. I have a little bit more to grind, and on this side, see, I'm there, and I have a little more in this area to grind. So I'm going to do that to even up both sides. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's take a look and see what we have. I'm right about to the line on both sides. The tip looks very even on both sides. I can feel a burr along here, so I've hit the apex. That's going to make sharpening pretty easy later on. That's one thing I like to do. I leave that little bit of extra thickness in here before I heat treat it to keep the edge from warping. And then when I finish grind the bevel, to clean off all the discoloration, I grind it down the rest of the way. And once I hit that apex like that, I can put a 15 degree per side bevel on here and have this thing be very thin behind the edge and have it be a really good slicer. And as you can see, I can hold these blades in my hand the whole time. They're not overheating. That's one nice thing about these guides that I built. I built them out of aluminum for one reason. Well, first of all, it was free. I already had it. But the main reason I chose aluminum is it acts as a heat sink and it helps pull the heat out of the blade, keeping it cooler than it would be otherwise. I put a 120 grit belt on the machine. I'm going to go a little bit finer on the finish. 80 grit leaves pretty coarse grind lines. You can see that looks a little bit better. I'm going to leave it there. I like 120 grit finish. I do like to see grind lines. And everything will be in one direction. Next will be working on the handles.